Okay. Okay, Caleb. Oh, okay. As required by law, the town may, audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Hearing none, we call the meeting of the Real Estate and Open Space Committee to order on February 16th, 2024 at 9:34. Any comments from public? No? Okay. Old business, vote to approve meeting minutes of October 20th, 2023. Have a motion?
So moved to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, Kathy. I know there is an executive session meeting minutes that's outstanding, but we'll save that till the next time we have an executive session. Didn't want to call one just to have meetings. All right, new business. Discussion and possible vote to recommend to the Select Board the possible disposition of the following. 172 Queen Anne Road, map 58K-1-3. 178 Queen Anne Road, map 58K-1-4, and 246 Queen Anne Road, map 58-K-6. We had originally intended to walk the properties, but Margot was nice enough to go out there and scope them all out for us. And it was decided that we really didn't need to walk them. She has provided us pictures of the properties so we can see. I don't know if anybody took a stroll down Queen Anne Road just to kind of see where they are. Okay, so we're all familiar with them. Two of those properties, 172 and 178, were on our agenda years ago. Kathy, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, quite a while ago anyways, and nothing ever came of it. So here we are back. And the reason being that what precipitated this was that our liaison, Mr. McCaskill, Select Board member, Vice Chair actually of the Select Board, has asked us to look at these properties and for the purpose of the town acquiring them, and he would then go to town meeting to have an article to propose that not only the town owns them right now, so they already acquired them, but to be able to dispose of them. He'd like to be able to put these properties up for sale, put them out for bid, and then use the revenue that may be garnered from the sale to be put into a fund that he would then use those monies to go after more of the properties unknown, use that money to clear up the, $3 million worth of owners unknown properties on the tax lien list. So that's where we are. Margot, do you want to give us a little overview of these properties and what? Now, this one here,
That is 172 and 178, which are adjoining lots. It's the wooded area between the buildings there.
Right.
And the rear property line lines up with the cleared areas on the adjacent lots. It's Route 6 to the north, and the Route 6 right-of-way, which creates a swath all the way along north of the properties along Queen Anne Road, just paralleling the road. So the only areas that we're talking about are immediately adjacent to those adjoining developed properties.
Is there an encroachment now, or?
Yes.
yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
On all three of them, I believe there is.
Yeah, there is. I think the neighbors have just gotten used to being able to store stuff there. And,
If I could just interrupt for a minute, going through some of the past paperwork, I saw that the chair of the Real Estate and Open Space Committee 9 years ago reported these people for encroachment on those properties. So reported it to the Select Board. So we may want to report. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. So these two properties together add up to about just approximately an acre and a half. And it's kind of, if you actually go out there and walk, it's kind of a very shallow bowl-shaped property. No wetlands. It's full of trash. I mean, it seems like just trash is blown in, or people have thrown it from the roadside. As you're standing on Queen Anne Road, you can see all the way through to the traffic on Route 6. So, I mean, it's there's not a lot to see there. It's basically just scrub oak and pine trees and a lot of underbrush and trash. And then, as you just mentioned, there's, and you can see in this aerial photo that there's encroachment on both sides from, I think, mostly materials storage from the adjacent uses. So if we could go to the other one, yeah, okay. So this one, again, it's the piece of land in the middle, the wooded piece of land in the middle. This is 246 Queen Anne Road. Very similar situation. Property rolls a little bit, but not much. It's wooded, a lot of underbrush. Again, sort of little bit of encroachment from activities on the adjoining lots. Also about an acre and a half in size. This is between on the right of it is the self-storage business, and on the left it's a woodworking shop. I can't remember the name of it now. There's no parking anywhere along here without encroaching on private property, which is part of the reason why I suggested that we not drag the committee out there, because to park all those cars, there wasn't any place to put them. And you can really see everything you need to see from the road. So I went and looked at some of the resource maps, and I'm sure Amy has done this too. No wetlands. It's not in a zone of contribution. There was no, they're not in a mass, habitat area. And so, my conclusion after looking as far as I did was that I don't see a lot of resource value, natural resource value in these lots. And the selectmen's recommendation to try to auction them or, seek bids to sell them seems like a reasonable
Amy, would you like to
approach.
join us, please, and give us your take?
Amy Usowski, Conservation Administrator. I agree with Margot. These are kind of in the middle of an industrial area, sandwiched between industry and the highway. There's no real natural resource value to them. No wetlands, no endangered species of any sort. As you said, anything like that, it just doesn't have it. So I would be in favor if this committee were to look positively upon potentially disposing them and using the money for better use and preservation of other key parcels.
Right, thank you. Thank you, appreciate you being here. Anything from the committee? Any comments or questions? Kathy?
Yeah, I have three things. So, I know people who've been going to town meetings for a long time know that other parcels have come up for sale on Queen Anne and have met with tons of resistance. Let's say over the last decade.
Yeah.
And probably before that too. Partially because people felt that the town should hang on to them in case they needed them for further municipal uses. Okay. And so I don't know if that sort of swell of adversity to this is still there, but that's something to think about.
Well, I think what brought this about actually was the sale of the other property on Queen Anne Road that did garner $1.5 million. So maybe these won't get
Yeah.
that much.
Second, I know that the water department was looking for
Okay,
a new home at one time.
I can answer that.
Okay,
okay.
so that's something.
Well, it wasn't, I think the discussion we had at one of our meetings with Dan Pelletier, the wastewater director, was a thought of if the water department wanted to put a well or whatever on the other side of 6, they were talking about putting, going underneath Route 6 with whatever, pipes and whatever to get across. So this was one of the properties that he had mentioned could be a possible site for that. So I mentioned that to Mr. McCaskill and suggested he talk to Mr. Pelletier, which he did. And Dan said, even though that's something, down the line, maybe, that the possibility of selling that property with an easement, so at some time in the future, if the water department did need to do something, they would have that easement and be able to do it. Okay?
Okay. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that, were these taken by eminent domain?
Yes.
They were, yeah.
So when something's taken by eminent domain, doesn't it have to be for the good of the public for some reason? Like, that's one of the reasons you are able to
It has
take
to have,
something.
it has to have some potential
Use.
public use, yeah.
So
Well,
is the public use selling it for, you can't take something and then sell it to make a profit on it without, you can't just take something by eminent domain and then not have a public use for it, or at least one for the future, and then just sell it. I don't think you can do that.
Well, I think at the town meetings, the 2 town meetings, it was 2 separate years, the articles said were taken for open space and municipal use.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
well, what's the municipal use?
Well, what's going to happen, and I think what the plan is, that the article for this year's town meeting will be to approve the disposition of these properties and to change that open space municipal use.
I don't know how you can do that, though, with
No.
eminent domain.
I don't know.
I don't
I don't know
I don't
either.
know the specifics of these particular takings, Kathy, but it seems like I think the reason the town took them was because they were tax delinquent.
Okay, well, that's different.
Yeah,
That-
and you
that's
can use
different.
eminent domain to do that
Okay,
because
if
it
that's the
clears
case, then
titles
that's
and, yeah,
different, yeah.
Brad, go ahead, you're,
No, they were owners unknown takings.
they
Okay.
were.
They would, I think that's what the article said.
yeah, I thought they were too.
Okay. I
But they
just wanna
still
make-
could have had
Clearing
a
up
tax.
Owners unknown.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that then,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah,
you just can't take something by eminent domain and then, for the public use, and then not have a public use for it,
Right,
so to speak.
right. yeah.
Okay.
Well, I thought it said not public use, but municipal use, so it could be declared, well, it won't be declared surplus property, but I don't know how. That's beyond me as to how they'll
Yeah,
do
I don't
this.
know
I
the
don't know it
specifics
either.
on any of that
Thoughts,
either.
Amy, anything?
I don't know anything definitively without looking at it.
Yeah, I don't either, so that's kind of,
And then my last thought is that, providing additional funding for owners unknown or other tax title research is great, except we haven't even used the money that was allocated 2 years ago by the taxpayers. So, I don't know,
I was
well,
wondering about that
some
too.
of, I believe some of the money has been used.
a little,
Well,
teeny bit.
Well, part of that problem was the short staff down in the assessor's
Yeah, I
office.
understand
And
that.
then our, staff shortages kind of delayed working on that when there are other, I was told, other priorities that, had to be done, and that kind of got pushed to the back. But now they're fully staffed, and they're working on things, as far as I know, so.
Is it possible for the town to sell a piece of land and put the money into the CPA fund?
I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible.
And I don't think that's what they,
I know it's not what
Yeah.
they had they had
But I do
proposed.
recall a selectman at a previous real estate and open space meeting, years and years ago, who came to our meetings saying that we were talking about some small parcels, land of low value and some other things, that at the time, they thought that you couldn't just sell a parcel and then have it directed someplace. It had to go to sort of
The
the
general
tax
fund.
general fund. So, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that would defeat what they're trying to do. So, I don't know, I just recall that.
Well,
Do you remember that?
yes, I do,
Yeah.
and I think, well, actually, I wish Mr. McCaskill was available today to answer some of this, but I know he is looking for a line item or whatever for where this money would go to and not go into the general fund, because personally, that was one of my drawbacks about this. I wouldn't want to see that money go back into the general
No,
fund,
me either.
because then it's lost in that big pot of money that will never, whatever, anyways. So, that's a concern, but I think he's already, working on how to do it, so. What can I say? Any other?
I guess if we're going, I assume that we would be writing a letter of recommendation on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm wondering if such a letter could express our questions and concerns, just about how the money will be utilized. I think it's my feeling, and I think it's yours as well, and perhaps, I don't want to speak for everybody, but that we want to make sure that the money is used to bolster the town's efforts in doing land acquisition for municipal purposes, which could be open space, it could be affordable housing, it could be another municipal use like, a town building.
Right.
But we don't want to see it go back into the general fund.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can we include something like that?
Does everybody agree that that should be included in our recommendation?
Yes, there should be a contingency on that, because first of all, there needs to be more clarity on if it was acquired, it was an owner's unknown, correct? And if acquired by eminent domain, they need to be very clear that they're, because you're only supposed to compensate, like when you acquire by eminent domain, you're supposed to compensate fair market value, but your owner's unknown, so you can't really do that to the person, so you're acquiring it. So there needs to be some sort of caveat that states that this money, upon selling of these properties, will be used for public purpose. And I would suggest that you be very specific as to what Margot was saying. You don't want it to go into just general Harwich town.
Right.
You want to be specifically for the public use of, acquiring land for municipalities.
Well, you want the money to be used by the town to acquire.
Right, but you have to be very specific, because if you don't, then the town could just go and put it in the
Yeah,
general fund.
I think we have to be specific that we want it to go into a designated fund for the purpose of acquiring or
Right.
resolving. Kathy?
Yeah, I'm not sure we have the jurisdiction to do that. I mean, we don't
We're
own the
just-
property, we don't
yeah.
have any say over how this is really used. It's not wasn't an open space purchase or anything like that. I mean, it's
Well, it's
a
selectmen.
town-owned, by the Board of Selectmen piece of property. They're just running it through us as part of the procedure.
Right.
I really don't think we can designate where the funds go.
But we could recommend.
We
We could
can-
recommend.
Yeah, because we're an
recommend.
But
advisory
I don't
committee.
think we can designate it all.
No, but we should just have in our letter, have this is our thoughts, and, it needs, we would like it to be contingent on X, Y, and Z, But obviously, we're just an advisory committee. We don't have the authority to do anything like that.
Carol, your thoughts?
Well, a number of questions have come up. Do we, instead of writing the letter, do we want to itemize our questions and get those answered
There's
first?
not enough time, I think, is,
Well, here's the
Oh, right, we
concern.
want it in time for the town meeting.
Right,
Well,
so
then write
we
a
would
letter with
have to, we
recommendations.
would have to get this, or the select board would have to get whatever our recommendation is, on their agenda between now and the beginning of March.
Right.
So I think they want everything by March 5th, if I got that right, or somewhere in the beginning of March. The warrant closes, I think, April 1st, I think.
No,
So-
I think the best we can do is say that, since there's no, we're looking at it from a resource point of view. There's no resource value. I think that's all we can say,
Yeah, just
is there's no resource
yeah.
value.
no
I don't really
wetlands,
think
no
we
no-
can dictate anything else.
I agree.
No, I'm not
I
saying
think that's all they're
dictate,
looking for, is they're just looking for us to clear the way for them, to say that there's no wetlands, there's nothing of value here, there's no species, there's nobody hiding, in the underbrush, no salamander or anything like that, so,
And it's zoned industrial, so it's
Yeah.
out for recreation or
I
housing
mean, I don't
or-
think we should get
you
into
know.
the weeds. I just don't think I think we just need to look at it from a resource point of view. There's no water we're protecting here, there's no anything else. So therefore, from that point of view, we think the property can be disposed of. That's it. That's my opinion, I don't know.
Okay.
And I agree with you, I think that's why they want to run it here, because then they can say, well, we ran it through the
Yeah.
Real Estate and Open Space Committee, there's nothing of value in this piece of land for the town, and, that gives them the green light to do whatever it is that they legally can do.
Okay, we good?
Yeah.
Any other? Brad, you
Sounds
good
like a
with,
plan.
Good.
you're good? Margot?
Yeah, I always like to nudge things in the right direction, but, I can go with the flow here.
Right, well, Kathy, will you work with me on the letter?
Sure.
You're such a good letter writer, and Margot too, we'll kind of pass it, we'll pass it around and see. If you don't want to do it, Kathy, just say no.
It's fine.
It's okay. All right, so, we need a vote. We need a vote to make.
I'll make a motion to send a letter to the Board of Selectmen recommending that this particular parcel has no resource value, list a few of the items that we just talked about, and that we see that it is suitable for disposition. That's it.
Okay,
What they decide to do with it,
Is there-
money-wise, is something they're legally gonna have to figure out, unfortunately. I wish we had more to say, but I don't think we do.
well, okay. A second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Got it. Okay, thank you. We'll get that wrapped up quickly. Number 2 on new business, update on open space and recreation plan. Margot, this is your report, please, on what you've been working on.
Okay, well, Amy and our new town planner, Christine, and a whole array of town department heads have been working to review various sections of the 2017 Open Space and Recreation Plan. And with the goal of trying to, update each of the sections and pull together a draft within the next couple of months. Mike is part of that group as well, and they asked me to join.
Excuse me, you might want to give his whole name.
I'm
so-
sorry, Michael Locke.
For the folks at home.
They asked me to join because I'm sitting on this committee and also on the local planning committee. And the update of the open space plan is part of the larger local comprehensive plan update. So the two things are tied together. I put together a short summary, which you guys each got a copy of
Maybe Carol
here today. And we'll be using this for, do you need another one?
Yeah, we need one for
Thank
Carol.
you.
This hasn't yet been vetted by all the people who need to vet it, but I thought the committee might be interested in seeing it, because I had asked, Kathy had told me that she had a summary of, what had been done with land bank acquisitions up in recent years, but it wasn't complete yet. And I went back and also talked to Mike Locke and Mark Robinson about what had been done for the land bank. And it seemed like this was an opportunity for us to think about how we might put together a report to the town on what's been accomplished with all of the efforts under both the land bank and CPA, specifically focusing on the open space piece of this, which is, largely our bailiwick. Obviously, they're under CPA, they're much broader purposes, and the CPA does track that. And it was very helpful. I was able to find Kathy on the town website that there's that whole listing of articles year by year by year of what CPA proposed and what was approved. The thing that's a little difficult about trying to update these numbers, though, is that you have a town meeting article, but oftentimes the acquisition takes 1, 2, 3 years afterwards for it to actually happen. So there's some lag time there. Also, there's lots of partnership with the Harwich Conservation Trust in this. And one of the things I observed was that in the early years of the town's relationship with the trust, we tended to have the town buy property and have the trust conservation restrict it. And in recent years, that's kind of flip-flopped. And the trust has been buying more of the properties and the town has been conservation restricting them. But it's been a good partnership all along, I guess is the important point. And I wanted you guys to have this just for your own information, because you deserve a pat on the back for what we've accomplished. And this is just in the 2015 to 2023 time period. There's some really significant stuff that we've been able to do in that time period. So all of the effort and time that the committee members have put in is well placed. And if you correlate what's on this 2-page list with a map, what you'll see is that there's some strategic, there's strategy involved in it. We've plugged some really important holes in the open space network in town over this time period, and it's really it's impressive. I was really surprised to see how over time we've been able to really make this add up to something. I mean, an example is the Hall property, which we had that huge Bell's Neck network of open space out there, but you couldn't walk around the reservoir because there was one piece of land that was privately owned, and so the trail network, you had to walk this way and then come back, or walk this way and then come back, but you could never walk all the way around. Well, now you can. And that was a 4-acre acquisition. That's all it took to completely transform that area into a much, much more interesting walking network.
Wow.
So I just wanted the committee to have
No,
that.
this is great.
We will be continuing to work with this subcommittee and the consultant that the town hired, Ty and Bond, to redraft the open space plan. Mike Locke and I are actually going to meet with Christine and Amy this afternoon to talk a little bit more about how we go about doing this, because the plan that we're working from really dates all the way back to the year 2000, and it's been updated periodically. But the more we dug into it, the more we started thinking, there's a lot more updating in here than we realized needed to be done. It wasn't just plugging in the numbers from 2017 to now, that there's a lot has happened in town in that time period. So we're gonna be working with them on that. But I thought it just, for a longer term project for the committee, it might be fun to try to put together a little report that talks about what's happened with open space protection in town during the tenure of Land Bank and CPA, so.
And I think Dave Callahan's maps now, he's pretty much gotten them kind of up to date and some things resolved. So I think if he can show, on that big screen, the maps and showing where this properties, like you said, if you could see where they've been
Yeah.
plugged in, if you can show that on a map, that would be great.
It is, and the
Yeah.
map speaks volumes, and Dave's done a fabulous job.
Yes,
with-
he has.
with putting those maps together, and there's, as he says, there's always more work to be done, because land use is changing, and
Right.
ownership is changing, and all of that, but they're a tremendous resource.
Yeah,
So,
we'll put that on a future agenda.
yeah.
So, is this gonna go someplace?
It's going to be incorporated into the update of the plan.
Okay.
There's a section, Section 5 of the plan lists, it has a summary of all of the kinds of land and amounts of land that the town has in different categories of municipal property. And there's a huge spreadsheet in the appendix of the plan that lists every single piece of town-owned property as well as trust-owned property. And we've got to update all of that. But looking at that list is completely meaningless. I mean, nobody can make any sense of it. So the text of the plan really needs to be able to describe, what are these lands? Where are they? Why are they important?
And this doesn't list everything, right? Because I noticed a couple of things are not here that we funded, like the Verroki land is not in here, Sutphin is not in here.
Verroki and no, these, you're right. This is not an exhaustive list
Okay.
of everything that was done, no.
Okay.
What I told Amy and Christine that I would do is try to pick out some of the highlights of that time period. But no, there are other smaller projects in here.
And it-
Verroki, I think, actually predates this time period.
No, it doesn't. Well,
I think it does.
it does. It was before 2015?
Right around that cusp. Plan was technically.
All right. I mean, and then the other thing is that whenever they do something, that it really should include whether the town or HCT holds a conservation restriction.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to know that, like the Kendrick Farm property, there is no conservation restriction held by the town. That's just owned by HCT, right?
Hi, Michael Luck, at Harwich Conservation Trust. To sort of Kathy's question, there's two main parcels that comprise the roughly 49-acre Pleasant Bay Woodlands at 75 Kendrick Road. The southerly 9+ acres is subject to a conservation restriction held by the state. The northerly 40 acres, we'll call it, has no conservation restriction on it. That was exclusively purchased with funds donated to Harwich Conservation Trust by members, businesses, foundations.
And how about the Sand Pond Woodlands?
Sand Pond Woodlands, that's subject to a conservation restriction because that was included some state funding. That's
Okay.
the land off Deacon's
No, I'm
Folly
just
Road.
saying that, when taxpayers vote at town meeting, they see that their funds are going towards the purchase of a conservation restriction. And I think that, when they read a comprehensive listing, they'd like to know where their conservation restrictions are and where they're not, because they're not on
I think
everything.
that's a really good point, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have both Michael and Amy and Christine look at this to make sure we didn't miss anything or get anything wrong.
Okay.
So consider it a draft. It says draft at the
Okay.
top.
Well, what a lot of work.
No, it's fun.
Gosh. Well, thank you very much, because this is really an extensive, and all the other work that you're doing. Okay. Well, we could, if there's nothing else on this, can we slide right into members' reports? Would you like to report on anything
The local
other than the local? Yeah.
Local Comprehensive Planning Committee is gearing up to do some public workshops in late March and early April. And we hope before those workshops happen that we will have the results of the community survey that is out there right now for everyone to respond to. We've gotten about, thus far, I think we've gotten about 1,000 responses. And it's something that anybody can go do online. If you haven't done it already, I would really encourage you to do it. If you just Google local comprehensive plan, for the town, it'll take you to our section of the town's website, and the survey is prominent on there. You just click on the link, and it's a Survey Monkey link that you can just take the survey right online. And it's, we're trying to get broader participation. So if you have ideas about who, like groups of people or ways to get it out into the community, one of the things we've noticed so far with the respondents is they tend to be old people like me. And, we're trying to get more young people, just more age diversity in the respondents. So anything you can do to talk that up and get people involved, that would be great. It doesn't take very long. It'll take you like 10 minutes to fill out the survey.
Okay, great. Brad, anything you could share with us? Okay. Marcia? Kathy?
Yeah, I can report on the CPC meeting. Happy to say that the Community Preservation Committee voted to support two of the land projects that we recommended. The one North Woods project, which is in North Harwich, and then also and that was the 7 acres that bordered the Brewster area. And then the second one was the support for the Red River project, which is the one on the other side of 28, the 2-point-something acres next to the Chatham area. They supported those will go to town meeting. And in addition, they supported the Bank Street Firehouse housing project, which will move forward to town meeting. So
Good. Yep, great.
that's it.
Thank you. Carol, any?
Yeah. No, I'm good, thanks.
You're good? Okay. Well, was up to a couple things, but Affordable Housing Trust meetings, they were supposed to have one, the snow day. This was closed, so I don't know when they're rescheduled. I haven't seen
Haven't seen it either.
anything posted yet. But I guess they're at the final phase of approving the RFP for, was it 456 Queen Anne Road? Whatever, the properties that they, Queen Anne and 124. So that finally will be going out to bid, hopefully sometime in March. I think they proposed to do it, so there's some action there. I have met with, a couple times, with the town administrator and the finance officer. First of all, just the two of them, to express our discouragement over the fact that nothing's getting done as far as having access to tax lien list, having it posted on the town website like it used to be, and got a lot of resistance to that. Had some other questions, and again, didn't get too far. And then another meeting with the town administrator, the finance officer, Mr. McCaskill, and Julie Kavanaugh. And again, expressed my concern that all the work we did on the recommendations that we gave to the select board, nothing has happened. And aside from, again, the staffing problem, there just doesn't seem any impetus to do anything right now. And of course, at this point in time, they all get pretty involved with town meeting business and getting things ready for that and whatever. But my personal opinion, and I don't know anyone who can disagree, I'm fine. I don't see any point in our meeting to go on and discuss any other properties or what might be next in our priorities of the long list of properties that we had, until something happens with the ones they already have. So, you know, we all have lives, we all have other things going on, so I didn't put a date for March. We'll see. Yeah, if something gets resolved and there's, like this came up, so this, you know, necessitated our meeting. I didn't intend having a meeting in February until this came up. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking to like to April. So, we'll see, unless anybody has any objection to that, if you want to meet, but you've got to come up with an agenda item. Thoughts?
Well, I think one thing is that the committee may want to have a look at this draft open space plan when it's ready to be reviewed. So that would be an agenda item.
Okay.
But we're probably a couple months away from that, yeah. So, and that, I mean, that's a substantial piece of work to, I mean, even just reading it is.
Oh, I'm
you know,
sure.
Yeah,
So you'll
I'll let you know.
let
when
know
that's-
so that we can
yeah,
put it on agenda. Brad, thoughts,
Vis-a-vis that, awesome.
or whatever.
I want to be clear on what it is we're waiting for. This is this our assessor's office researching?
No, right now, the reason, well, they are researching. They have started finally working on some of the properties, but until there's action on any of them. Originally, the thought was, well, we can get maybe some of it on an article on town meeting this year, and, you know, but it hasn't happened. And I think, you know, why go on and do more work and looking at others, you know, but it's up to you. That's,
Oh, that's fine, absolutely.
you know, I don't want anybody to get discouraged about being on this committee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Think that we're not, you know, it's not worth your time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but stick with us, everybody, stick with us. At some point it will. It will take off, I hope. And if not, it's not our, you know, we pass things along and it's up, the ball's in their court, as the saying goes. So, once they show some positive action and something is finally accomplished that makes us feel, okay, they have the intent, they have the will to do it, they've done it, now we'll give them some more to do.
Very good.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, this was, I think, Brad, this is before you came on the committee, but almost a year ago now, this memo that we wrote to the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board now, was March 31st of last year, and we gave them a list of what we thought were the top priorities for the town to pursue for acquisition, and all of these things require a lot of tax title research, and it just really hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So,
Chasing owners down, chasing heirs down, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I do it.
yeah, yeah, I bet.
Well, and they have contracted with someone to work in the assessor's office, but other things have intervened there, and her time, some personal time, she was not able to. So there's just been delays and little stumbling blocks. Maybe now we're finally got things set up to move ahead. Marcia,
Any thoughts on that?
whatever, any thought at all? on
I
anything?
first of all, I just want to thank you, Margot, for this, because just looking back, it's like for me, when I joined the real estate and open space and like, oh, I remember the hall, I remember we had the
Yeah,
opening ceremony, I remember this, I remember. And another thing, this is something that I can give to my daughter because she is a sustainability major in college and she doesn't really believe that I am on her side. So I can say, hey, listen, you know those meetings that Mom always goes to on Friday mornings? I go, these are some of the things that we do. Like, I've taken her to the Marini property and walked around and stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, when things get into the newspaper, I'm like, Mommy helped with that, you know, whatever. So I appreciate, I know this is a lot of work,
Yeah,
but it's
it's-
really appreciative.
Good. Just tell your daughter it's a draft.
No, I just think for her to see just the timeline, and she'll remember me talking about, you know, once we got to, you know, go to the opening of the Marini property, and then I was there with the hall, you know, so it's very cool to actually be there and, you know, see things happen. So that's why it's frustrating when we go through all of those, remember the Excel spreadsheets that we had, and looking
Yeah.
through them and trying to figure out, and Dave doing the mapping and all that, and then to just see that it didn't go anywhere,
Yeah,
you know? So it is frustrating with that.
yeah. Well, a lot has been accomplished through the CPA primarily. I mean, you know, the recommendations that we've made to CPA, and in partnership with the trust, you know,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
lots gotten done.
Kathy?
Yeah, two things. One, I think, just a point of reference is that the land bank debt that we, you know, acquired in those early years, was just paid off this past, May. That was the last land bank debt payment.
Wow.
So that is gone, finalized. The second thing I wanted to say was that the Affordable Housing Trust did vote at their last meeting to support the Bank Street Firehouse Housing Project. And they awarded them a grant of $450,000, which, you know, lowered the request from for the CPA funds to $400,000. So, that was good, that was great.
Yeah, it is, and the point that the money that they get from the Affordable Housing Trust is usable right now.
Right, correct.
And the CPA funding wouldn't be till July 1. So
It
this
gets
gives
approved
them
at town
something
meeting.
to
Yeah.
keep the ball rolling
Exactly.
and to keep going, so that's
Exactly.
great. Yeah, it's wonderful. Carol?
No, I agree.
That's what I like to hear. Anything else? Nothing else? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're good.